This is the Sabbath School lesson for the first quarter, 2022.
Lesson 2, the Message of Hebrews, ready for teaching on January 8. It's authored by Dr. Felix Cortez, Associate Professor of New Testament Literature in the Seventh-day Adventist Theological Seminary at Andrews University, and your reader for today is Dr. Percy Harrold. Monday, January 3. Jesus is our mediator. An interesting concept in the Old Testament theology is that the promised Davidic king would represent the nation before God. Compare Exodus 4:22 and 23 with Samuel 7:12-14, Deuteronomy 12:8-10, and 2 Samuel 7:9-11, and Deuteronomy 12 verses 13 and 14 with Psalm 132 1-5 and 11-14. What promises to Israel would be fulfilled through the promised Davidic king? First of all, Exodus 4, beginning at verse 22, "Then you shall say to Pharaoh, Thus says the Lord, Israel is my son, my firstborn. So I say to you, let my first son go, that he may serve me. But if you refuse to let him go, indeed I will kill your son, your firstborn." And 2 Samuel 7:12-14, "When your days are fulfilled, and you rest with your fathers, I will set up your seed after you, who will come from your body, and I will establish his kingdom. He shall build a house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. I will be his father, and he shall be my son. If he commits iniquity, I will chasten him with the rod of men, and with the blows of the sons of men." And Deuteronomy 12, beginning at verse 8, "You shall not at all do as we are doing here today, every man doing whatever is right in his own eyes, for as yet you have not come to the rest and the inheritance which the Lord your God is giving you. But when you cross over the Jordan and dwell in the land which the Lord your God is giving you to inherit, and gives you rest from all your enemies round about, so that you may dwell in safety." And 2 Samuel 7, verses 9-11. "And I have been with you wherever you have gone, and have cut off all your enemies from before you, and have made you a great name, like the name of the great men who are on the earth. Moreover, I will appoint a place for my people Israel, and will plant them, that they may dwell in a place of their own, and move no more, nor shall the sons of wickedness oppress them any more, as previously, since the time that I commanded judges to be over my people Israel, and have caused you to rest from all your enemies. Also the Lord tells you that he will make you a house." And Deuteronomy 12, verses 13-14, "Take heed to yourself that you do not offer your burnt offerings in every place that you see, but in the place which the Lord chooses in one of your tribes. There you shall offer your burnt offerings, and there you shall do all that I command you." And now we'll look at Psalm 132 and verse 1-5. "Lord, remember David and all his afflictions, how he swore to the Lord and vowed to the Mighty One of Jacob. Surely I will not go into the chamber of my house, or go up to the comfort of my bed. I will not give sleep to my eyes, or slumber to my eyelids, until I find a place for the Lord, a dwelling place for the Mighty One of Jacob." And verses 11-14, "The Lord has sworn in truth to David, you will not turn from it. I will set upon your throne the fruit of your body, if your sons will keep my covenant and my testimony which I shall teach them, their sons also shall sit upon your throne for evermore. For the Lord has chosen Zion, he has desired it for his dwelling place. This is my resting place forever. Here I will dwell, for I have desired it." Israel was God's son, and God would give the Israelites a place where they would rest from their enemies. God also would choose a place among them where his name would dwell. These promises for Israel would now be fulfilled through the promised Davidic king. He would be adopted as God's son, God would give him rest from his enemies, and he would build a temple for God in Zion where God's name would dwell. This means that God will fulfill his promises to Israel through the promised Davidic king. The Davidic king would represent Israel before God. The insertion of a representative in the relationship between God and Israel made the perpetuation of their covenantal relationship possible. The Mosaic covenant required the faithfulness of all Israel to receive God's protection and blessings, as we read in Joshua 7, verses 1 to 13. Now the Jericho was securely shut up because of the children of Israel. None went out, and none came in. And the Lord said to Joshua, See, I have given Jericho into your hand, its king, and the mighty men of valour. You shall march around the city, all you men of war. You shall go all around the city once. This you shall do 6 days. And the 7 priests shall bear 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark. But the 7th day you shall march around the city 7 times, and the priests shall blow the trumpets. It shall come to pass, when they make a long blast with the ram's horn, and when you hear the sound of the trumpet, that all the people shall shout with a great shout. Then the wall of the city will fall down flat, and the people will go up every man straight before him. Then Joshua the son of Nun called the priests, and said to them, Take up the ark of the covenant, and let 7 priests bear 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark of the Lord. And he said to the people, Proceed, and march around the city, and let him who is armed advance before the ark of the Lord. So it was, when Joshua had spoken to the people, that the 7 priests bearing the 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the Lord advanced and blew the trumpets, and the ark of the covenant of the Lord followed them. The armed men went before the priests who blew the trumpets, and the rear guard came after the ark, while the priests continued blowing the trumpets. Now Joshua had commanded the people, saying, You shall not shout or make any noise with your voice, nor shall a word proceed out of your mouth, until the day I say to you, Shout. Then you shall shout. So he had the ark of the Lord circle the city, going around it once. Then they came into the camp and lodged in the camp. And Joshua rose early in the morning, and the priests took up the ark of the Lord. Then 7 priests, bearing 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark of the Lord, went on continually, and blew with the trumpets. And the armed men went before them. But the rear guard came after the ark of the Lord, while the priests continued blowing their trumpets. The Davidic covenant, however, secured God's covenantal blessings upon Israel through the faithfulness of one person, the Davidic king. Unfortunately, for the most part, the Davidic kings were not faithful, and God could not bless Israel as he wanted. The Old Testament is filled with accounts of just how unfaithful many of those kings actually were. The good news is that God sent his Son to be born as the Son of David, and he has been perfectly faithful. Therefore, God is able to fulfill in him all the promises he made to his people. When God blesses the king, all his people share in the benefits. This is why Jesus is the mediator of God's blessings to us. He is the mediator in that he is the channel through whom God's blessings flow. Our ultimate hope of salvation is found only in Jesus and what he has done for us. So to finish the day, think about how often you have been unfaithful to your end of the covenant. What does this teach us about how we must rely solely on Jesus for salvation? This lesson was read by Dr. Percy Harrold for Christian Services for the Blind. Sponsored by the Sabbath School Department and distributed through Hope Channel Australia, this podcast is also redistributed by Hope Channel Germany, Christian Record Services for the Blind, and It Is Written. It is also available on SoundCloud and through multiple podcast distributors, including Apple iTunes. Remember, God is always faithful.